How's it going?
How are you doing?
Oh, good. Good to see you. That's a great office you have.
I know, my outdoor office. Hi, Deb.
Hey,
The room
how
with
are
the
you?
view.
Good. It's a beautiful day. Did anybody get to go out and breathe in the fresh air?
Just got back.
Nice. I like that. So we may have close to 60 people on this call. I hope, which would be super exciting for us. And as soon as more people kind of jump on here, we will get this underway. Can you guys see the offsite construction little sign up there?
Yep.
Perfect. And we are doing something right.
Indeed we are.
If you feel like you want to make a brief introduction of who you are, this is your time.
Yeah, my name is Patrick Warner. It's good to be here from Slider Artworks. Nice to see you all.
Patrick.
Hey, I'm Deb Jones with Academy Mortgage.
Hi, Devin.
This is
Hey,
Tim
Patrick.
Sims with Tim with Nietzsche Hoff, driving through Montana right now. How's everybody?
Yay.
All right.
I feel like you're always on the road, Tim. Are you always on the road?
I haven't been because of this weird virus thing I read in the news about. But
This thing that just happened?
yeah, but yeah, I'm doing some deep work, couple projects I'm working on. So I'm staying at a little place here in Montana instead of Seattle. So.
Wow. How's the weather there? Is it beautiful?
Beautiful, lots of cows. And just beautiful rolling hills and mountains. Yeah.
Good for
Right
you.
by Glacier National Park. So it's really pretty.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be amazing. Karen, how are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out how to get everybody onto the screen at the same time.
So there's a little box at the right-hand corner, but you might not be able to get them all on because we've got this little screen thing up, this little slideshow, because we're getting very technical at this now. And you guys are going to be seeing, you're going to feel very impressed from the last one to this one because we've been practicing, right, Scott?
Indeed we have. Getting better each time.
So funny.
Last time was pretty cool. So
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, we've done a walk, we've done a crawl, and now we're running.
Totally. Victoria, how are you? You have to unmute yourself because everybody comes in mute, just FYI.
Audrey, do you know John Moon?
Yes.
John is on the line.
Hello, John. We've got many people coming in. Hi, Karen.
Are you talking about me?
I have
Karen
Karen, you, and I have Karen Benner.
Okay.
Look at both of you.
Hi, Audrey.
How are you?
I'm well. I confess that I'm either having a very late lunch or an early dinner right now, so it's good to be here.
Good. Thank you for being here. Hi, Darcy. And Robbie and Rhymes. Okay, I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start, and then anybody else that comes in, at least we can get this moving because we have a pretty awesome speaker. So thank you for being here. We are doing these offsite construction series every second Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. and the last Tuesday at 4 p.m. We have a lineup of 14 people from coast to coast that are speaking on different topics that have to do with offsite construction, whether it was architecture, panels, modular, steel structures. There's a whole slew of them. And the reason we're doing this is because we're collectively trying to educate people and get more people into our industry and start opening the conversation. You can go to the next one. Here's Will. Here's the guy that's going to be speaking today. For some reason, it's like over the next one. I don't know if you could see that. Can you see that, Scott?
What was that?
It seems like it's like on top of the other screen, on top of the other form. So Will is what, there we go. Will's with 359 Design. I met Will maybe about a year ago after doing extensive research trying to find someone that actually was a modular architect. So we will be bringing him on. He'll be reviewing basic understandings of modular. He'll be speaking the language of modular, his team, his group, and several projects. We usually have Owen Taylor with us from Academy Mortgage, but we have Deb here today. Deb, do you want to give a brief explanation of your company and what you guys do over at Academy Mortgage?
Owen and I have worked together for quite some time. I've been in the lending business now for about 24 years. And we do construction, one-time close. We do modular manufacturers. So from the first-time buyer to the jumbo buyer. So the rates are incredible right now, needless to say. We're going through a lot of new hoops we have to jump through as far as verifying employment and everything. But Academy is used to be a preferred lender for a few of the builders like here in Colorado. So they're well versed in doing construction loans. We'll be glad to help you in any way we can. We have some great marketing tools we can use, but just a real good company, local, all on site as far as in-house underwriting and closing, fund on the day, closing, there's no, hold up in the wires or anything. It's out of Utah. Our corporate office is out of Utah, but just really easy to get through loans through and everything. So I'll have to send you a little resume blurb on myself, so I'll get that together for you.
Thanks, Deb. I appreciate that, and thanks for being our partner.
Sure.
Our next partner is Mountain View Window and Doors, and we're going to have Matt speak on behalf of that company. Matt, do you want to speak?
Yeah, so Mountain View Window and Door is in Denver, and we are currently working on a few modular projects. And we are using the Anderson product, also using the Milgard product on there. So if you have any needs, please give us a call, and we would love to chat with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being our partner. Our next partner is Greg Crom, but he is actually on site working. Greg has been with me through the very start of Modular Sure Site. He is actually one of my team members and our general contractor, along with having his own business. He's with 303 Development. You can look them up online. They're a great design build firm. They do modular, they do custom multifamily. They've done over 300 projects. So it's been very interesting working with them, and we've been going through this together. So it's been a great journey. Our next partner is Art of Construction and Devin Tilley.
Awesome. Thanks, Audrey. So I started a podcast 5 years ago before podcasting was the ultimate in thing. Now that we're all sitting at home listening and talking together on our computer screens. But I'm the host of the Art of Construction podcast that we do a lot of stuff with modular, and we focus on connecting construction technologies and the right products to the right handshakes. And we've interviewed many different construction technologies. In fact, Audrey and I actually did a whole series that we coined System Build Lifestyle of 15 podcast episodes, which is where I learned a ton about going through that education with Audrey. So if you want another touch point for modular through podcast, check out the Art of Construction.
Thank you, Devin. That was a blast. I'm glad that we did that together. How about that? So with that, with our wonderful, amazing guests, we are going to bring Will on with 359. Will, take it away. I'm going to leave it on to you.
All right. Everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Audrey, and nice to meet all of the sponsors and everyone that I just had the opportunity to either hear your voice, chat, that sort of thing. So thank you. And we're excited. We're excited to present this material. We present this material a few times a year, and we also on a number of different occasions throughout Urban Land Institute is my primary outlet and where I go with that. So so putting tonight's agenda, this afternoon's agenda, depending on where you are, I kept the presentation and the material relatively, I would say it's relatively general ish. It's got some, there's some detail in there. There's going to be some deeper looks. On the modular pieces, I would say it's a general overview on those pieces. And then what I really would like to focus on is what we've been doing on the architectural side. I would say that what I will be presenting you in all of the material is our own. My opinions, I think, in all of the pieces are my own, and there may be people that do these things in different ways. But from the experiences that we've had, and also the pieces and our relationships, this is what's working for us, and we learn every day. So we're going to speak on volumetric modular. We're going to go through the what, why. I'll talk about the project process. We'll show you some detailed project looks as far as what we're doing and what's to come, and then a little bit of wrap up within there. So with that, let me get rolling here. So who we are and why modular, okay, is really the first bit. We are, that's me, Will Hentschel. I am a principal co-owner at 359 Design. We operate out of Denver as our office. However, we work all over the country and internationally, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. I have myself been working out of Niwot, out of my home, and I'm typically on the road at least 3 days a week. So remote working, all of those pieces has been, for my staff, I think they maybe even like not seeing me 2 days a week, as I often come in and ruffle the feathers and all of those things. So anyway, glad to be here, and we'll move on. So 359 Design is, I started 359 about 8+ years ago. We are a multifamily living environment studio. We don't pretend to be anything else. If someone asks us to do those other things, unless it's tied to a portion of our projects, we usually turn them down unless it's multifamily. We do dabble into a little bit of single family, but the single family tends to be in relationship to larger projects, or maybe into our goals as far as overall modular, and just might be something that's overly interesting. So if someone comes to us and says, I want to do a house and I want to do it modular and it's going to be the greatest house in the world and all of those things, we are going to think about it and not jump right on it. But if you were to come to us and say we're doing anywhere from 4 to 1,000 units, we'll say bring it on, and let's roll from there. So I think you have to know what you're good at and where you're not. So so like I said, we do work all over the world. Prior to this meltdown, as part of being a multifamily living environment studio, stateside, and we tend to do a lot of resort, and we do a whole lot of support workforce housing, mainly in resort communities. For those of you that have been around the modular world and the multifamily world, you know that there are pocket markets where it works and pocket markets where it doesn't work. So you have to be honest about those things. Our passion, my passion, is designing ski resorts and working in winter climates. So we've been lucky over the years to touch some of these locations and other locations, and we'll talk about those projects a little bit in their relationship to modular, which is a little bit different in how we look at things. Just a little smattering of some of the work that we do to give you a little idea of scale, little idea of shape, texture, form. Most of these projects I'll have a little bit of a snapshot on, but let's just start thinking about that, right? We're not going to be spending a whole lot of time in this world here. We'll start to get into this world, but we really like these in the middle here and these all around. So, so that's what I'll be basing my conversation on. So why modular, and why did we get into it? This site plan that you see up in front of you is a site plan of Chamonix in Vail. We, and also I, have a long history in Vail. I lived in Vail between my undergraduate in college, and then prior to going to University of Pennsylvania for my architecture degree. Lived in Vail, established a number of relationships there. I'm a homeowner in Vail, and have spent time in resort climates there, have spent time in affordable housing and workforce housing and all of those pieces. We've established a great relationship with the town of Vail, with Eagle County, with the bulk of the councils and commissioners and what have you up there, and have worked a fair amount on the workforce. So, if there's one of those pocket places where it works, Eagle County is good. But the Chamonix site. So we had been working on the Chamonix site for about a year and a half, and going to the council with a number of options. Short side of the story is that they had overpaid for the land, and then only had a fair amount within their, a certain amount within their budget. And they said, absolutely, line is drawn here. We're spending X, Y, Z on this, and this is what we're doing. Design team, George Ruther, who was director of community development, now the housing director there, said, okay, we have a task to do. We have to figure out how to do this project for this amount of money, exactly this amount of money. And we worked on a number of scenarios between density, between all of those things, and eventually, said, okay, it has to be this cost per square foot. Where are we going to get this cost per square foot? Also, we have to get it done in 9 months of construction. How are we going to get it done in 9 months of construction? Third thing, when I go to my council, I need to tell them this is what it's going to cost. And I don't want to go back for any more conversations. Okay, so big task. Obviously, those are the things that we strive for. But right about that time, I was with my resort council, my ULI resort council in Philadelphia, and I happened to be sitting next to someone, Kenny Lipshock, who some of you online might know. Kenny is one of the guys out there that you see at all of the things. His company has moved around a number of times, but he said, yeah, I know modular. I'll teach you modular and this and that. And I said, okay, well, can we do it for, in this time frame? What kind of assurances can we get? And he said, yeah. It's too good to be true. Anyway, over the next 3 months, we took basically our entire staff, 15 people, and taught them to live, sleep, drink modular. Okay, so what does it mean? Learn all of the details, learn all of those things. Okay, we had trial by fire. We lost our manufacturer about 3 months prior to construction, shifted gears, and all of those things. Anyway, at the end of the day, we got the project done. Some folks online were involved in that project, and this recently won first place as a permanent modular multifamily project at the World of Modular in 2018 by the Modular Building Institute. So on to volumetric modular. So what have I been talking about? What is, for those that are, somewhat familiar, somewhat not familiar. Well, you know, in the way that we go and the way our world goes, we tend to, unless we get into our resort side, tend to build with wood. And building with wood, there are a number of different ways that you can get this done. You can stick frame it. You can, you know, go out, hire somebody, stick frame it. You can build or developer it, which means that, you know, on board, you've got some efficiency from your staff, and that's going to sometimes lower the cost of the project, lower the time, lower the experience of the project. And then we have systems built, right? So systems built, for those unaware of the term, systems built talks about all of these things. It talks about modular, it talks about volumetric modular, it talks about panelized. It talks about things that are done within the factory or within some sort of controlled environment and are put together in parts. It's not the individual sticks, but it's panels, it's pieces, it's larger things. So, you know, as we start to look at that, you see that we have full modular, we have parts and panelized that we dabble in from time to time. And then another piece that we're starting to go for certain projects, and we'll see where this goes, is a wet core process, which is basically a combination of modular and panelized. So where we get the wet pieces of the building, put those in modules and do those, and then we have shells and panels that go around them. So we're here to talk about volumetric modular. Volumetric modular, great for these types. For single family, it's great for hotel, it's great for multifamily living, affordable 2-story walk-up, 3-story walk-up, 4 stories with a corridor, type 5, type 3 construction, all of those things, okay? We like to, with our product, like to get into the 60% range, where I can say 60% and above is being done in the plant, and we'll talk about why I like to do that. So, volumetric modular, a couple diagrams here. This is what is called a module. For those that are very familiar, just bear with me for a second here. The module is this piece, and it's you know, anywhere, you can make them as small as you want, but your efficiency is going to get killed if you go under a certain range. But 8 to 16 feet wide. Some plants do them as 19'6" and up to 72 feet or so. This that we're looking at is considered a module. In the next bit, I will show you what a saw box is for those of you that have heard what that piece is. But as you can see, as this goes down the line, some of my favorite plants out there have 20 and 30 stations as they go parallel as they go along. They start with a floor, they put in interior walls, they put on their exterior walls, they put on their upper part, and then they move and they move and they move. So when those pieces start to come together, and this is in a smaller scale box, in a smaller scale project, you've got all the parts that go onto it. So you're going to get your box. Typically within our environment, you've got a foil face or you've got green board or something along those lines. When it gets to the site, it needs to be set on a foundation. It needs to get its skin. The boxes need to be stitched together. It needs to have its decks put on. It needs to have its roofs put on. It needs to have all of those pieces, right? So as you're going through here, some of the things that you need to be aware of is the moving parts, all of the extra parts, everything, all the ticky-tacky is what starts to drive that cost and starts to get out of your control in a modular project. You have to be aware of the permitting process. Different states have different permitting. In general, the box, the module that I showed you before, this goes through the state, and then the rest of these pieces, the foundation, the skin, the roof, typically go through the local environment. In some places, that's also in the state environment, but it's a different department. Select the plant that suits your needs, right? And when you come to this, secure your LOI. These are just big things, but I'll talk about them further in a minute here. This here is a saw box. A saw box tends to be a little bit more efficient. So as you can see, we've got now 2 pieces. We've got more building mass. When you start to put these together, you're setting 2 boxes at once, as opposed to 1 box at a time. So your time on the site is a lot less within here. So you see this, these can get long, they can get wide, they can get very heavy. And, you know, for the setters out there, as you start to see these come around at, you know, at 16 feet, you know, wide and long, and they're big. At a recent project, we had some townhomes, and I'll show you it, where the boxes that went down the road were 19'6" by 72 feet. That's a really big and really, really heavy box for those that know it. So what product is right for modular? I've taken some of our projects, and I've got 8 on this page and 8 on the next page. You can see on the lower side where the dotted line is. Dotted line is where we start to feel good. When people come to us and say, this is the kind of project that I want to do, we say, okay, we can do this. Things are going to align. Things are going to be great. We can do this very well. We can do this. You know, there's opportunity to screw up, but we know that we're ahead of the game. When you start to come in on the smaller scale within there, and you have a lot of moving parts, and you say, well, I want a house and I want 8 boxes, 9 boxes, you know, something like that. Well, now you're starting to take a lot of pieces and put them together. Likely you've got some ticky-tack and that sort of thing. So we, on our side, caution a little bit against those, but we know that there's great single-family groups out there and what have you. This one in particular is somewhat of that wet core process that I talked about, where it's where we've got boxes inside of a shell and something fun. So the guys that are coming out in Toggle and Winter Park, Colorado, I think they've got a good model. So a little shout out to them. But as you can see, as we start to get in this middle range here, a good duplex with some larger boxes that come together. I can take this lower box, I can ship this together, I can stack it on top of one another, really starts to work well. These longer boxes and these single sets, these are, you know, set alone and they get some extra pieces. These work really well. Duplexes, incredibly well. Now we start to get into the townhome world. The townhome world, you know, the townhome world that generally requires us to do individual modules. It requires us to run saw boxes and individual sets. So it starts to be a little bit more moving parts on it. As you can see, it requires some of the decks, some of the outer pieces on there. We'd like to integrate those as much as we can, but you know, you can see that we were able to do it here on this, but these, we couldn't quite get it. So that's why that goes into the slight inefficiency. So now we're, you know, as we step up in scale, we're starting to cook a little bit. This is the Chamonix project that I talked about in Vail, 32 units. Interesting in the townhomes, but I think the number of units, I think the building season, all of that stuff and all of those pieces allowed us to get really good, do a really good job. I had a great team on that between Nashua and Ari Nelson in Vail, working on that. Next to it now, we're starting to get into what we like, right? Where we get great efficiency. 3-story walk-up, wood frame, so 3 stories, no elevator. This one starts, you see that I've got a little bit of a solid line in there. Reason I do is because I'm on a sloping site and I've got some complications as I come within there, as I come in setting my boxes a little bit subgrade. So that's getting a little bit technical, so I'm going to move on to the other piece of the Georgetown project. Georgetown is, and you'll start to see this going up on the road right now. This is on I-70, hard to miss. The first 12 townhomes went up last summer, and on it right now you'll see that there's a hotel going in there and a brewery being constructed. The units that are up there right now, 12 units, There are 76 units total. So those are coming all over the next year to a year and a half, and then another 78 multifamily units. This 3-story walk-up starts to get really efficient as it goes. You do see that I've got some ticky-tack on there, but the way that we were able to do it, we were able to get about 70% of the construction within the boxes, and they start to sing. And then as I get to a 4-story, either 4-story over a slab or 4-story over a podium, either way, I'm able to use a saw box. So this box is going all the way across the hallway there, going, setting, works really well. So I'm going to talk about 2 different project approaches here. A number of ways to do projects, a number of ways to come up with your design, come up with most efficient. And I'm going to talk about 2 of them. There are hundreds, right? But we'll talk about what gets us, starts to get us what I'm calling here a holistic project. Okay. This project is a project that we're currently involved in right now that is in Lake Tahoe. It is a hospitality-based project. In this, we really get into it and everyone's gung-ho. What is the best solution? Which way do we look at this, right? Which way do we do it? For us, and the way that we approach this is we look at the demographic. We look at, who is going to be there, who's going to be using it, what are they going to think about if it does go to modular, about sleeping in modules? Are they going to think it's weird? Are they going to not want to do it? Are they, probably not, but those are things that we consider and questions that are asked. What are we looking to do? What are our themes as we go through? We come up with an architectural precedent. We come up with look, taste, feel. Where does this go? What does this start to do? And we start to steer this into something of design. We then come up with somewhat of a partie from there. We build these things around, and as you can see, we started to say, what are these hospitality cabins look like? How do we start to build them? What are their shapes? How do they get put together? What's really important within them? We then go develop a unit plan. Okay, and this unit plan, as you can see, based on modules, based on interchangeable parts, it's going to work really well for us. We take those, we then stack those into architectural form. This is all taking everything that we learned before. Now everybody's got something, that everybody believes in it, everybody does it. This is where we somewhat say, end of concept design, let's move on, let's start to get this into pricing, but we know we can do this in modular construction. What we also like about these boxes here is, as you can see, aside from this piece, all the rest of that is going to come from the plant to me onto the site. We can probably also do some siding within the plant and when we put it together. So going for the simplistic architectural looks like that. Comes into a site plan, comes into something that's very livable and something that's very developed, and you got a winner there. So that's one approach. Another approach that we like very much is what we call a unit-based approach. This is with someone, whether they be large developer, small developer, someone along those lines, but they know what they want. They know what their demographic is. They know what their market is. They know what their unit size is, and they know what sells to the market. So they'll come to us and say, I want to do X number of units. This tends to be my mix. I had this unit plan before. Let's start to get this in. As you can see, we draw this on modules. We draw this on efficient modules. This is a module piece, as I talked before. It's going to go onto there's going to be a corridor along this side here, and there's going to be another unit on the other side. So we can take those 2 pieces, put them all together, and get a saw box and when we deliver it. So this approach starts to get very clean, right? This says, okay, now we set out a site plan. We start to set these boxes. We start to get these repeatable elements. We do get some site frame pieces, but it starts to cook and it starts to go. We mass it up into early pieces. All the while, from the first conversation, from anything, we have drawn based on boxes, based on modules, based on efficiency within here. We get this and we take this, as you can see up on the screen, we've got what we call pricing specs. So within this product, for about maybe 10, 12 different products, we have different specs that'll go in there so that any plant that's looking at this, we leave it open to them to either specify what we have exactly on there. If it's exact, most of the time we try to put a performance spec in there to let the plant use what their best leverage is in order to compete. And then from there, we dress it up and we give it some style, we give it some character, we give it some feel, so that when this starts to go out, it gets priced. But like I said, all the while, on this type of project, unit-based approach, developer knows what he wants, knows that he wants this efficiency in it, and goes from there. This particular project for a large national, international developer, they were looking for standardized modules that they can use from location to location. We designed a number of different skins for this that can be put on and changed in the style, but we know it works and we know where we can change it from place to place. So, good reasons why. Good reasons why to do modular construction, right? You have assurance of a consistent and solid product, right? So you know what you're going to get from the plant. You know what your plant is going to produce. We're going to say that you can save time on the project, but that time is going to be saved on the back end. You can't come to us and say, hey, I've only got 5 months and I need to do a multifamily project. I heard modular's the place to go. Still takes the same amount of time, but we think we can get you to the finish line faster. You can control things, right? If you are a control freak, all of those pieces, you can control modular. You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting on what date. You can target windows to say, this is when I'm going to build. And if you plan right on the front end to bring it all in, it works great. A price lock in vertical construction. You know, for those of you that have done stick frame construction, you know that your price is moving and moving and moving and going. On the boxes, when we go to chat and we go and we get our letter of intent and we get those pieces, we're getting very close to what that final price is going to be on that box. And that box delivery may be 3 months out, it may be 6 months out, it could be 9 months out. They'll probably have some escalations in there, but you know what they're going to be and you know how to control them. And also if you want to do the project efficiently overall. So, bad reasons why not to do modular. So, we have a number of people that come to us, you know, when a lot of people were going and pushing and what have you, on a weekly basis, we would get calls that would say, my design development pricing came in 30% over budget. I want to do, somebody told me I can do modular and I'm going to save a bunch of money. Well, that's not a good reason to do modular. By the time we take it, by the time we re-engineer it, unravel it, put it into modules, all of those pieces, we're spending design money, we're spending time, we're doing all of those things that you don't like to do. I heard I can get a deal on some modules. I heard somebody might have some modules lying around there and this is going to be a great idea, somebody told me. Doesn't happen. Happen maybe every now and then, but very tough to do. And then word is, you've got a previous design that's going to work really well. Can you just take it and can you fit it onto my site? You probably have documents done. You've probably got this. It's going to work out great for both of us. Well, it doesn't work great for either one of us at the end of the day. So we've been through it. So that's why we wouldn't do modular. Let's get into project process. I'll talk a little bit through and how we do these. So a little bit of a confusing graph up here, but let's just isolate on the horizontals here. We've got a systems built and we've got a stick built construction. Both have their timelines. What's running vertically are our design stages. And I'm only talking about design stages here and a little bit about build, not talking about when you're putting your money down, price, all of those things. There are a lot of smart people on this phone and on this presentation that can probably speak better to all of those things. But this is back to that piece of we start at the starting line at the same time. Do this right, do it where it should. In those specific product types, we're going to get you to the finish line faster. But in order to get you to the finish line faster, we're going to take you out of your comfort zone a little bit sooner than you like to get taken out of your comfort zone. As we go through this, you see that we come through concept, we come through SDs all together, everything's fine, hunky-dory. Under modular construction, we're starting to accelerate in here. We are doing the same amount of work in the time that the stick is going here and drawing and coming up with that. That is because right here is where we start to get our price lock within here. Within stick frame construction, you're probably getting your price lock somewhere out in here. Also see this big line across here. That's the design lock. So right here, mid DDs, we're stopping. We likely stopped our unit design way in here much earlier. Okay, so as you can see, that brings people out of their comfort zone, but there are benefits to go within there. As we push through, we're going to permit earlier, and then we're going to build earlier. So we have some overlapping lines, i.e. ideally, we get you to the finish line 30%, 15, 20, 30%, somewhere faster on there. So another diagram, another sliding line, but this starts to take what the design team does and what the modular build does and how it looks and how we interact with the factory. You know, as I said, we come through a process. We do this a lot. This piece here and where things are, as I showed you in that previous diagram, they move a lot sooner to the front. They move to the middle than stick frame construction. Things move a lot faster within there. For instance, we take, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but we go through a concept design. Following a concept design, we have conversations with modular groups to get it there. We do start to do our entitlements, and then we wrap up a schematic design. We use that schematic design set to talk to the modular group to get our price and to get our relationship off onto the right foot and onto those pieces. So how can you go about this, knowing that this is a process? How can you go about it? And there's a number of different ways, right? There's a number of different ways to buy a box. Anybody, you know, I think if you want, we'll sell you a box. There may be some people that don't sell you a box, but they're, you know, most will. So what we often see is sometimes before projects come to us that the client has gone directly to the plant. They often go too early. We see that the relationship gets stale. They don't necessarily have a concept, and these things kind of tend to drag on. We know that the plants somewhat like them because they can say and get the developer under their wing and say, you know, we've got you. You don't need to go anywhere else. Another way to do it is that a client might send an architect's early drawings that aren't under modular construction, aren't drawn as modular. They might be underdeveloped and they go out to the plant. That's going to go in one pile. There's going to be another pile here that they like to look at and another pile that's going to go through. And as we heard, but we don't have the proof, we understand that the prices can vary in the way that that goes. Again, my opinion within there. So, and then oftentimes we have the general contractor or the owner taking a DD set, and it's probably too late. It's probably not designed as modular, and you're going to have to unravel it and go back. So the way that we like to do it, we like to, as I said, and you can see within here, we like to work and develop a concept. We like to vet it through our team that most of our engineers on there. In general, we've got about 70 to 90% of our consultant team has done modular, has done systems built, knows what to do on the projects. And we take the concept right immediately through the concept. We vet it through our team. I can't mention enough that, you know, to be successful here, you've got to design the modules and you've got to design them as modules right from the beginning and go through it. So as we go through, we develop that concept, we vet it through that team. We make the initial introduction if our client does not have an introduction, does not have a relationship with a plant. We might reach out to 2, we might reach out to 6, but we like to get them in front of there. We like to get them kicking the tires, and we like to say, hey, this project is going to be coming down the line. We'll often get the question, can we see your drawings? Can we see this? Say, of course you're going to see them, but I don't want you to price them at this point. I want you to just know that this is a real project and it's coming down the line. Out of that initial, we may say, you know, let's get a short list for plants. There's going to be plants that work for your product. There's going to be plants that don't work for your product, but we'll be able to find you a match. We then go through, we complete the schematic design. We, with some of our consultant teams, quite often typically do a structured RFP that says, this is the process, this is what we're asking you to bid on as a plant, this is the number of boxes, this is your square footage, these are your options for change. So it's something very structured from there. We found that gets us the least amount of confusion and oftentimes the best price. So right after that, we try to select our modular right at the following of SDs. And by the time we're in the middle of design development, we've got them in and everybody's got ownership as we draw it and it's running and moving. So I'll quickly just, you know, slide through these, but again, the process changes a little bit within our concept design. Like I said, we design modular right from the start. In our schematic design, that schematic design that we use for pricing, we're going to have about into what we would typically consider design development. We're going to go a lot further on that. We're going to try and get all of the pieces in there such that at least on the modular side, we can give everything that they need to price it appropriately. Pricing set in the modular RFP, incredibly important within our process and as we do it. And then once we get all that and we get all the niceties out of the way and what have you, then we're all together as a team, we can move on and we can start to do it. At the end of design development, we tend to, and we try to get the boxes to a certain level, and that is the box piece of the overall drawing, the box that I showed you within those diagrams. And we'll often take that, we'll submit that for the state side. And then while we go through construction documents, we take all of the detailing of the foundation, the detailing of some of the building skin, the detailing of some of that ticky-tack and put it on and bring it in. So just to slide through, you know, you can read through these as I go, but again, the concept design, some of the early things that we do, evolve the approach. We get systems very early within these. Within the schematic design, we have heavy consultant involvement. We've got a 90% design lock on the boxes at that point, and we develop it such that it can be used for a good pricing set and for a good modular RFP. That pricing set, we bring in a third-party estimator. Oftentimes, we typically don't engage a general contractor unless the general contractor is a seasoned modular general contractor. We tend to first, second times through get very large prices that don't necessarily represent the overall picture. That's why we bring in a third-party estimator, just help keep us in line, help keep us all of those pieces, and then somewhere in design development, we bring it out. We personally are big fans of having the owner purchase the boxes directly as opposed to through the general contractor. If we have them do it through the general contractor, then it's an open book piece as we go through. Then as we have everyone involved on the team, we get the design development, we signed up the manufacturer, we work with the manufacturer to make sure that all of those pieces are right, all of those pieces are working with us, and we finalize the box parameters. We use that oftentimes for the state permit, and then by the time we get to construction documents, it's coordination, it's energy modeling, it's skin. We're probably going through the modular submittal process, and we're into modular construction administration by the time that we're submitting for these. A couple detailed projects, and then we'll go through and wrap it up of just what's to come, what we're doing. I promised to share with you a little bit of the international work. People tend to like it, but for a ski resort in Sweden, very straightforward. Everything is, it goes without saying that we're designing this as modular. It's going to be done as modular. The boxes are going to have a whole lot of wood in them. They're going to have a whole lot of those things. They're going to be different boxes, but that's what it looks like. So, so we like that. We have a lot of fun in doing that. This project in Palisade, Palisade outside of Squaw, a 70 unit project, combination of duplexes and single families. I showed you this a little bit earlier. What was interesting about this project is, given the number of volume and those pieces, they went through 3 plants. They went through plant prefab that should say zip kit within there, and they had method homes, and they had them each build 2 of these in different forms, see what the relationship was like, see where it went, and see where it goes. And ultimately, they didn't select any one of the 3. They are going about and building their own plant. So the plant is called Foundry, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we can check back with you in a while. But I was watching video over the past 2 weeks, and also we've got a call tomorrow that they set these 6 here, and these 6 are already in place, but these went this week, and these boxes here are under construction right now in the plant. But as you can see, the plan, very modular. You can see a very clear delineation of what's modular, what's not modular on there. This project that we love. This is in Georgetown, but can be used almost anywhere. Very simple boxes. It does go on the wider side, so it limits the plants that can look at it. But these general pieces of just being able to put them down on the site and live very well. This is a project Trysil Alpenlodge in Norway, 144 units. This will focus more on a wet core approach. So generally, as we go with these projects, we design them to a certain level. We set it up for success. We use our resort knowledge, our history knowledge. It's amazing if you go to Norway, you go to Sweden, anything like that. First thing they'll ask you is if you've worked in Aspen. If you've worked in Aspen, you've done in Aspen, then they want you to do the project, right? So, so it's often odd to be sitting, at the table with architects, with designers that I'm way out of my league within, but we're going and we're working together. Generally, we draw them and then they convert and they take these pieces. So for them, it's a little bit limitless for what they can do. This is the Georgetown project that I showed you before. These are the units that are there right now, the hotel that's being built right now, and the brewery. These are the remaining townhomes that will be scattered throughout, and then these are the multifamily 3-story walk-up. Those 3-story walk-ups on site, I don't know if there are any townhomes, new townhomes getting ready to be set on the site, but all of these will be to come. And I think, we're getting ready to shift manufacturers again on this project, but to find our sweet spot. But as you can see, everything lays out very modular fashion from there. Even the townhomes go and work incredibly well. So a project in Big Sky, Montana. One of our partners that's doing this project with us is online right now. So shout out to John Moon within this, and Nashua Construction. So John, we're getting there. So we're coming through, but general idea out of this is to provide and to do a very repeatable workforce housing development that can go from site to site. So we've got this site, we've got another. We're starting to move on to other sites that are very similar and taking a very similar design, changing the skin. Burlingame Phase 3, which is this part of it. I designed this portion in here when I was previously a principal with Oz Architecture. Did these single families as 359 design, and then we then recently won this project, and we're taking it and doing the next phase as modular construction. So those documents are in process right now, and they will be spring of 21 construction. But as you can see, we designed this project initially in 2010, 2011. as modules. At that point, we were coming out of 2009, out of recession. City of Aspen basically said, we want to keep all of our dollars here. Even though you can save us this amount of money, it can be faster. We want to keep our dollars. Coming back to it 6 years later, we did it right. We didn't have to change much. We did have to go through a significant just re-engineer of the buildings and what have you, but good parts and pieces. This project does fall in the not perfect as far as modular goes because it's two-sided. It's not a double-loaded corridor off of there. I get a fair amount of deck ticky-tack and that sort of thing as I push along. So spin in here, and hopefully I can move on. So with that, Audrey, I'm 2 slides away from wrapping up, and it looks like I'm spinning away. Do you want to?
I say wrap it up. Just keep.
Yeah, let's wrap, and I'm ready. So yeah, so with that, in our wrap up, what we would say in order to make your project successful is commit from the beginning, commit to doing it modular. Let us draw it as modular. Let us take it through schematic design. Let us do those pieces. That's going to be your best success. We will guide you at schematic design. We oftentimes get stick price, we get modular price at the same time. And we decide at that point, go, no go from it. We've learned that modular is an incredible relationship-driven group. They like to see the white in your eyes, and they like to sit across the table, and they like to do that. So be ready to do that. Have patience with the project, with the process, stick with it. Get a modular team, get it. If you don't have everybody modular, at least get somebody who knows it and somebody who's ready to lead it. Get third-party involvement, a lot of good consultants that do this. And again, modular is great for full team buy-in from this and building something. So with that, I'm gonna wrap and take any questions. So thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you, Will, for all of that. I would love for you guys just to unmute yourself, ask your questions, and then we'll go through this.
I have a question for you. You said that you get stick pricing at the same time you get modular pricing.
Yes.
What do you find usually comes back as lower, or what can you speak to about that a little bit?
Sure, it'll depend on where we are, certainly, and also the product type, who tends to be hungry. Like I said, if it's a double loaded corridor building, 3-story walk-up building in the mountains and somewhere like that, it's going to be pretty hard to beat modular. If it's going to be front range, I think we're at about a threshold. So you start looking at time, you start looking at assurance, you start to look at those things. Oftentimes, also when we do this exercise, we tend to have developers who aren't committed. They might have a partnership. They might have 4 people, 5 people, and they're going to be some of them on there are going to be very much into it, and some of them are going to be naysayers and might have a relationship with general contractor, something like that says we can do it in a different way. So.
Sure, that makes sense. So what percentage of your projects would you say have gone modular versus stick built?
That we start out on modular that go forward, I would say 90 to 95% of them.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
John, do you have anything from Nashua that you'd like to contribute to the process, or what Will has spoke on behalf?
It's like he's muted.
Yeah, you might have to unmute yourself. Okay, maybe not. Maybe
Sorry about that.
That's
Sorry about
okay.
that, guys. No, I would echo what Will already said, which is select your team early and commit early. We have a lot of, I'll just say, non-starters where folks just want to dip their toe in the water. You really need to dive in and kind of commit, and it either works or it doesn't. We'll outline the areas of the markets that it's prominent, and we can do that without much effort at all up front, advising on costs. But pick your team early and commit.
I got a question. You had said, I thought I heard you right in the Georgetown project, you said you're getting ready for the third company in that phase. Can you talk about the different companies, or are you in a spot where that's not fair game?
No, I think it's absolutely fair game. The first buildings were done by Superior, which is no longer out of Watertown, South Dakota. They're now called BestGen. Within there, I think we got a little bit, we got a very good price from them. They were a group that could do 19-foot-6 boxes, so we selected them and went with them. And then in going through that, this is an opportunity zone. The developer had a partnership with Ritzcraft in the piece to get these boxes under opportunity zone funding. To do it as that, his partnership since then is not as strong as it once was within that. So he's going on, and we're talking to additional groups from there. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
So if we could just do like on your little button down here, or actually maybe in the little chat box, I'm trying to find it now. How did everybody feel about the information that he shared? Did it make you feel like you wanted to know more? Do you feel like you have a better understanding? Do you have any questions about the process?
Yeah, Audrey, great question. This is my first time. My name is Patrick, and Will, excellent presentation. I was really impressed. I've probably only seen something like this, not quite the presentation like this is, but I've seen another presentation on modular, and this really piques my interest. I do a lot of interior work from custom furniture in that regard, so that's what I was really looking at. That's kind of my angle, but I was really impressed with overall the designs and what you could make from the boxes. I've only seen stuff that's really, for the most part, pretty bland, and this gives me hope about modular. It's stunning stuff that you build and design.
Thank you.
This is Robbie Schwarz with Build Tank. And Will, again, I echo excellent presentation. I had a question. You talked about efficiency from a building perspective, and I was wondering about efficiency from an energy efficiency perspective. Have you had much testing or diagnostics on your units, and or have you had any difficulties with compliance with energy codes in any of the markets that you're building in?
Great, good question. So thanks for that question. The answer, as far as compliance, no, we have not had any issues. As far as as we start to get into complicated wall systems, right? Complicated continuous, continuous pieces of building enclosure and what have you, where everything is super tight, starts to become a little bit more of a challenge, right? How do you take these walls that general how we do that is that you build the walls and then you foam the walls and you do it. We've got a project that I showed within here, the Burlingame project. As far as the energy is going to just pretty much blow anything out of the water as far as what's out there and what's been done thus far on the larger scale modular stuff, and Europeans kind of tend to do it better. Cross laminated timber in some places, they're going to do it better. But what we're looking for is a very high level. So as parts of that, we will be testing the boxes up early, but and those that we're talking to and the Achieve and what have you, we did work with the modular groups to come up with our wall enclosure to determine and also to design what can be done within the plan. So.
Will, have you seen a difference in working with people in other countries than working here? Are people more supportive of this design type of function than they are in the US? Are you seeing similarities? What is your feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, in general, what happens is it goes without saying, right? It goes without saying that likely some piece of the project is going to be systems built. You know, they tend to use systems build a lot more than modular. This project that's up there on the screen right now, Cabin Bond, as you can see it, fair amount of panelization within there, wet core approach, but you know, really they'll take it and do what's best. As much as they can in general when you approach their contractors, what they can do in the plant is better for them, better for everybody. So.
It's great to see. Just so everybody knows in the chat, I did put Will's contact information, his company, so you can do a little bit more research. Does anybody else have any other questions that they'd like to ask him at this time? Well, I can't thank you enough, Will. This has been amazing. I think it's super valuable. We are recording this. We will be featuring this on the Modular Sure Site website. I'll also be sharing it with you, Will, so that you have it for other distribution channels. We are going to be doing our next event, which will be, was it May 15th at 8:30 in the morning, and we're going to be doing it with Think Modular. They're a cable system integration company out of Canada, so it should be a pretty exciting topic. I wanted to thank all of you. It makes me really excited that there's more and more people that are getting interested in it, and you get to learn from one of the experts. I feel like Will has one of the most amazing groups and teams that he works with, along with this knowledge base, and he's worked with so many different factories. It makes it pretty exciting. So if there's nobody else has anything else to add, I just want to close it out and thank you, and hopefully you can make the next one. Everything's going to be posted on LinkedIn or also on my website and on Facebook. If you look up modularsuresite.com, you'll be able to see all of it as well. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Audrey.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Audrey, you've got the presentation in your, and I sent you the link to the Dropbox, so feel free to do with it what you like.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, I'll share it with the team. I have about 60 people that we'll be sharing it with, so I think that will be great.
Okay.
And do we have on the last slide anywhere your contact information?
No, I'll drop that on there and I'll put that on.
Why don't you do that and then give it to me? That way we can kind of distribute a little bit better.
Sounds great.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you again for all your time, Will. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.